welcome to my channel. I am Zodiac Bandit, and today we are going to be recapping episode 112 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role. This might be a long recap because a lot happened in the 4 hours, so stick with me. It's going to be a long ride. Buckle in. Let's go. We start in the 9-sided tower. The morning comes and the parties gather for breakfast. Caddy says that the cat waffles are amazing. There's pancakes and cat waffles like mentioned before, and Jester made sure that there was some cookies because Jester needs cookies. Jester can't believe that she's on the moon. Lana says that there's still far more to the moon that they haven't seen yet. Jester says that it's nice to have met the Bell's Hells before their red doom, as she puts it. Orm asks if there's going to be any weird time dilation stuff when they leave the tower, because, they're used to that with Nanamoria and stuff. So, Caleb answers simply, no, there isn't going to be anything like that. Veth says that they are still within enemy territory and asks if the Bell's Hells know exactly where they're going to be going. Imogen says that they've been here before and she knows where they're going, and they're going to be going below the surface of Kavaris. Imogen explains that they need to sneak around to get to where they need to go before they can go down into the city. Veth wants more details on how to sneak around, but Chetney wakes up and asks what's going on, and after a bit of reminding themselves where they are and how they got to the basement, they're in the basement of the glass shop, and Caleb and Chetney teleported them there. They can teleport again, the staff fully recharged. Ashton asks where they want to teleport to a place with allies or even just the base of the city and just go straight to the pillar from there. Imogen says that she can send Rashina a message. The party really liked that idea. Dorian wants a better understanding of what the city looks like and what it's like, and the party explain that they're currently on the surface level of the city and they need to go below for their missions. Getting out was where they lost FCG. It's the hard part of everything, according to the party. Caleb asks if the Weavemind have a place of operations, and Imogen says that's actually where the 9 are going to be going, the big glass pillar in the underground city. Veth asks for a drawing, and Imogen tries to make one for her, and she rolls a performance check and gets a 15. It's not bad, it's a loose interpretation, and she labels the Arx Creonum where the Mighty 9 are going to be going. Dorian asks how long the parties will stick together before they split up to do their stuff, because a big group looks suspicious. Ashton thinks that it might be good if the locals actually see them, just so they can help them out later, but Imogen chooses to send a message to Rashina now. It's Imogen, are you safe? We've got 2 groups here to take out the Weavemind. Where can we meet? It's a large group. Bo asks who Rashina is, and the party explains that she is the leader of the allied group here, the Volition, and she helped them last time. Rashina responds, well, unexpected. Glad to know you're here. We're preparing a mass detonation, hiding in the Vellums, or Villums. Look for Gaz. The party recall the Villums are a woven part of the neighborhood that has some housing and industrial area in it, in the underground city of Kavaris. They went through it last time to make their escape. The party recall that Gaz was fucking awesome and hilarious last time they met him. Bo asks if the explosion will fuck up their plans, but the Hells actually think that it'll help their plans out. So they know where they need to go now, and they need to find Gaz and the Vellums. Caleb says that he can disguise them all, but they can't get too far apart from each other. And then they decide that after they meet Gaz, they will split up. Laudna uses minor illusion to show the races of Ruidus so that the party can look like that with the spell that Caleb's going to use. Laudna then goes to give Sprinkle back to Jester, but then asks for Pate. Jester says that he's out exploring and they don't know where he is, and Ford tries to back her up. Jester asks Caleb if it's hard to bring a familiar back on the side, just in case, and Laudna tries to look through Pate's eyes and sees nothing, and asks if Ford killed Pate, and Ford in fact owns up to it. He says he was confused by him. Yassus suggests killing Sprinkle in return, but after a moment of thought, Laudna jokingly gives him back to Jester. Thank God, Artagan would have been kind of pissed off. Laudna then resummons Pate, who laughs at Ford for being very rough when they play. The group chooses to become a bunch of Ryloran guards, because that makes the most sense. It'll draw the least amount of attention, they hope. Caleb makes sure that the smaller members are turned into Bormodos, because small Rylorans would look weird if they were soldiers. Brea suggests sucking up some magical items, and the party are thrilled that he remembered that. Thank you, Sam. They talk about who will absorb an item because there's only so many chances to do so, and they choose to roll for it. The highest roll wins, and Ashen wins for the first one. He puts the harness on and is a little worried because the last time he tried to use it, a certain ziggurat moment, they put the Dusk Hunger into the funnel, which is Zathuta's sword, and he absorbs it. He gets a permanent +2 to his dexterity ability score, and once per short rest, he can add 3d6 fire damage to a melee attack. Jester asks Caleb why they don't have one of those, and Caleb says that a very terrible man made one. Jester says that she would forgive him if he made one. Veth tells Caleb that she blew her only chance to be with a Minotaur, and she asks if he regrets any of his romantic decisions. Caleb says that everyone has a different journey, and she seems very happy. Veth says that this one regret will haunt her forever. The Hells decide to risk breaking the harness and trying again to absorb more stuff. Orim wins the roll and will absorb Ishta, the blade that killed most of his family and partially what led to the death of FCG. As he absorbs it, he gets a feeling of redemption that flows through him. He locks his eyes with Laudna, who nods back at him, if you recall their little fight over Ishta. He then gets a permanent +2 to his dexterity as well, putting him up to 22, which is apparently tying Percy. And whenever he hits a prone enemy, he gets an extra d6 damage to it. Pretty good. It actually explains a lot about fucking Odahan. The harness luckily doesn't break, but the party choose not to try it again anymore, just to make sure it doesn't risk it, because now it's at a 40% chance to break. Fern wonders what would happen if they wore it around Predathos. The party are intrigued by the idea, but they aren't quite sure. They wonder if it's actually the key to defeating Predathos or not. Ashen tells Imogen that they still have the seed from the All-Minds burn that they need to plant somewhere on Ruidus, which is something I completely forgot about. Boreas notes that he and Yasha never fought, so they decide to trade a couple of blows before they leave. No damage is exchanged. The party leave the tower. I will miss thee. They step into the basement. It's very cramped down here. Caleb casts Seeming. I assume he never mentioned what it actually was, but I feel like it's Seeming on everyone and turns them into their Ruidus disguises. Jester casts Pass Without a Trace to aid them in their journey, and they climb up the ladder into the glass shop. Imogen sees that it's actually mostly cleared out of its tools and weapons from the walls. Imogen informs everyone that the Rylorans speak in their minds, so they should not speak out loud. Imogen then sees Zesh across the room. Imogen tells her in her mind that they're in the cellar. Zesh was actually starting to wonder when they'd be arriving, but Imogen informs her that they were there all night. This shocks Zesh a little bit, who then says that she's going to be taking a walk for everyone's safety. She says more are getting ready for the transference, so a group walking around might not be noticed, but who knows. Zesh then takes a bag and then walks out of the shop. Both parties come out of the cellar. They can hear the wind begins to pick up. It seems that the storm is going to be coming in soon. The Hells will lead the way. Orm is on lookout, and Caleb is memorizing the route just so he knows how to get back to a safe place. They step out into the streets. They can see the storm is indeed picking up, and Imogen is going to lead them to the dust pit that they entered the last time with the Volition. They make their way through the city streets. Those who are seeing Ruidus for the first time are seeing that it's actually kind of similar to any desert city on Exandria. They see that there are many different flags and banners hung across the many different buildings and spires, and they're flapping in the wind. Many of the populace are packing and getting ready for a big move. Many soldiers are there as well. There seems to be a lot of tension for this big move. Imogen is leading the way, and Caleb asks if this is what it was like last time. Imogen actually says no, it was rather empty last time, but the storm should help them move about. Imogen makes a survival check to guide them properly, and she rolls a 19. They move through the city streets for a while. Dorian sees that most of the people here are moving towards the bridge, so out of the city. Orm sees a new place, an odd garden that has things from Exandria to show what is to come very soon for these people. There's trees, grass, and, stuff from Exandria living here in spite of the location. It looks like people are making prey at it before they head out. Orm asks if he can go take a look at it. Imogen says that he can, but he has to be quick. Orm just has a feeling about Plane Rider Rin, and Caduceus decides to go with him. They see that there's instruments, blankets, and some sort of basket or jar making fruit that people are taking one at a time. At the back, Orm does in fact see a horned figure, Plane Rider Rin, who is still a statue. There's many soldiers around. Orym takes Caddy back and tells the others what he saw. Imogen then says that they need to make a distraction so they can grab her. Caleb says that he can make one easily, and then the others can get her during said distraction. The 9 do actually know who Plane Rider Rin is. They went to her hideout back in Campaign 2 on the Fireplane. It's actually where Luke died, which is kind of messed up. Ford decides to cast Major Illusion to make a red storm above himself and Caduceus, and then he uses Marine Layer to cover the two of them. Many people gasp in the crowd, and they start moving away from it. Imogen uses Telepathic Bond on herself, Ford, Caleb, Orym, Caduceus, Dorian, and Bo. I assume Laudna as well, because she can hit 8 people, and that was only 7. She tells the others to make it look like they're afraid of the storm, and they all do so. The civilians start to scatter. 2 soldiers bunker down near the fruit basket to keep it in place. Dorian runs over to the soldiers and yells, "It's everywhere," and casts Thunderclap above them, and then casts Warding Wind to pick up the wind around them, and himself to make it feel like they're part of the storm. Deception check 21. The soldiers grab him and tell him to stay safe and hold on to him very tight. Ford and Caduceus move in towards Rin. Once they get right next to her, Caduceus casts Greater Restoration on her. She falls into their arms and they try to tell her that they're friends. Rin, missing an arm, is now bleeding a ton because her arm fell off when it fell over and cracked. So that sucks for her. Caduceus casts Cure Wounds at 4th level on her. He's able to heal her for 25 hit points, and the bleeding stops. Caduceus says that everything's going to be fine. A persuasion check needs to come his way because she does not trust the fact that these strange creatures are looking at her. Keep in mind, she probably only saw them when she was fighting them in the dig site. He rolls a 7. She looks at them and then waves her hands and teleports out. Ford informs the party that she's gone, and Imogen immediately sends a message to her. "Rin, it's us. We came to rescue you. You're on Ruidus right now. Stay safe. If you need help, contact me." Rin answers, "Well, a bit disoriented, but I appreciate the assistance. I suppose I'm in some sort of dark chamber." The party are confused by what this means. Caddy and Ford wonder if they know what the spell that she used was. With a 15 arcane check, Ford actually does know that it's Dimension Door. They wonder if she can come back, but a strange insect starts moving within the storm around them. The party start to move. Ford throws the illusion away from the party, and they all make it look like they were bracing themselves getting ready for the storm. The party get a good look at this massive insect-like creature. It's a fully grown Vidulch. A Vidulch is one of the bug creatures the party fought last time when they were in the pillar. It follows the storm as it leaves. Imogen notes that it actually seems to be entranced or really follows the storm. They can see a rider is on its back who's fighting the creature's instincts as it moves. The civilians reemerge in this moment. Orym can see that no one is really looking at them directly. Bo asks if they're waiting for Rin. Jester sends a message to her instead. Jester says, "Hi, where are you? We're going to go down to the center of the moon. Do you need help healing?" Rin answers, "Okay, whoever this is. I assume you helped as well. I need to get my bearings. I'll let you know." Orym says that his sword could heal her over some time, but they don't really have that time at the moment. The sky grows dark and the party continues to move. They follow Imogen for about 20 more minutes, and they get to the rock dump site that is unfortunately sealed off. They see the guard chamber that was there the last time they were there, and a figure waves them inside. It's the same watcher as last time, Amito. He lets them inside and says that it's getting intense outside and hopes that the people on the way to their bridge are safe. The new members see a much older Quantica, the Sasquatch-like race. He sits down and closes the window to make sure that the storm doesn't get inside the hut. Fern asks about the tunnels. Laudna informs Amito of who they are, and she claims that they are friends of the Volition. Imogen insight checks to see if he went on alert after saying that. She rolls a 17, and she can tell that he was surprised by the Rylorans not actually being Rylorans. Amito says that he's done with them ever since the last attempt. Imogen asks how deep the tunnel is sealed off. Amito simply says 10 feet. Jester says that she can handle that, and she steps outside into the storm. She polymorphs into a giant mole. She calls it a dire mole. I'm not sure if there's a difference. She then starts digging in the storm. It takes some time, but she does dig her way through the sealed off tunnel entrance. She then becomes herself again, which looks just like the seeming spell. Brea says that she's very good at destroying things. Sometimes that comes in handy. Jester says if he wants to learn how to be destructive, he should follow her. The party then heads down into the tunnel. They eventually come to the old Volition hideout. The window looking out into the city has been smashed, and those who are here for the first time see the underground city of Khaviris. They see the tunnels that are connected to the base of this base is closed off. It seems that they were sealed after the last Volition attempt, and they, lost their hideout. They can see a ton of movement in the city. They can also see the glass pillar from here. Lana looks at it and tries to see if it looks any different from the last time they were here. Perception check of 17. It doesn't look very different, but every once in a while, it begins to get brighter, and it goes from bottom to top. Breus wonders if this is where they should split up or not. They choose to message Gaz to figure out where he is. Imogen sends a message to him. Gaz, it's Bell's Hells. Where can we meet? We're here to help. We have a team to be even more effective. There's a detonation coming. We need to meet. He answers, hey, good to hear your voice. Wasn't sure you made it. A whole lot going on. We're at the ceramic tower. Looks like a fork. They look out for the ceramic tower, and Orem rolls a 29 in his perception because he's never going to be bad at that. And they see the construction of the buildings is very wild in the city, and they see a bunch of odd spires all over the place. But they do see a spiraling tower with dark brown color to it, and it splinters off into 3 different points, and it looks just like a fork. Bo thinks it's cool that they know what forks are up here, and the party say, well, most of the time they do need to eat something, and most civilizations evolve to have one. Dorian asks Imogen how they got out last time. She points to some of the tunnels that go upward to the surface, and they see a massive group of people slowly moving to it and up out them. It seems the city is emptying out as well. Dorian asks what happens to Rudis if Predathos is released. Imogen thinks that it gets destroyed, and Dorian asks for a fucking escape plan because that's a great thing to ask for. She tells him that the staff will teleport them out, and Caleb can teleport the rest of them out too. Jester claims that she can also help in that department. Latina says even more reason to keep Rin on Ruidus so they can teleport the fuck out of there. Caduceus asks if this place reminds the Nine of Cognosa. They all kind of agree, and that's actually why they're here, because it is very similar. Bo asks where the Weave Mine are, and the Bell's Hells show them the Arx Creonum. It looks like a wasp nest built into the side of the glass pillar in the center of the city. They need to get moving, but the only way out of there is through the glass window. They do have many ways to get down the massive drop. However, Ford casts Arcane Gate and places it behind a corner in one of the many streets down below. They all run through the gate, and they end up on the floor of Khaviris. They start heading towards the Fork Tower. Group deception check to see if they blend in. They each only rolled for one of their characters, and they just took the highest stat for each of them. So Ashton got a 21. I would imagine Orem got a 26, Jester got a 15, Fern got an 11, Veth got a 16, Dorian a 23, Bo a natural 20, and Chetney a 29. I say I assume because they didn't say who got what, they just said it. I'm assuming these characters are the ones that got the better stealth rolls, so who knows. They move through the streets, they hear the flying creatures above them, and many soldiers riding on top of them as well. They see many silent conversations being held between Rylorans as they speak within their minds. They catch the eyes of a few soldiers before they lose them as they are going the wrong way, and it looks very suspicious. The rest of the people are leaving, they're moving deeper in. They reach the Fork Ceramic Tower, and they start heading up the stairs. They see a massive, muscular Ryloran sitting at the top of the stairs. He says to Imogen, "Can I help you?" And Imogen says, "It's them." Gaz relaxes, and he was stressing out. He invites them inside to the small chamber. He asks what they're doing. Breus makes an insight check on him because he does not trust him at all. Something he brought up before, how he doesn't know if they can actually trust him when they were inside the Volition hideout. He rolls an 11 on the insight check, and he can't quite tell if he's a traitor or not. It's hard to read these people he doesn't understand yet. Ford sees that there's 2 trapdoors in this room, but not much else. Gaz says that he's waiting for Rishina. They're going to try to blow up a massive portion of the Arx Creonum to see if it collapses. Imogen asks if the Weave Mine is still there, and he says yes. Orem notes that the people are moving out and asks if there's messaging to the people happening. Gaz says likely to them, but his brain has been broken since the last time. Imogen's mom fucked him up a bit. She apologizes for that. Gaz says that he was batting up, so it's kind of on his fault. He was in a coma for a week and Rashina had to help him out of it. They notice at this point that he's not using his mind to talk. He's using his mouth, which is rather odd for Ilorin. Caleb asks Imogen if they are free to speak here in her mind. Imogen says yes, and Caleb asks what the timetable is for the Volition. Gaz says a day or so. Fern asks how he made it out of the last interaction they were in. He says that he doesn't know, which raises some suspicions for some people. Bo says that they're here to fight the Weave Mind. They should move up their demolition to very soon. They tell him that it would be best for them to move up their demolition to a moment's notice. He says that he'll have to go talk to Rashina. He then leaves. Fern follows him because she's rather suspicious. And it's just what Fern does. Stealth check of a 17 from her. She follows him for a few blocks. Eventually he reaches a shack-like building and opens the door, and then goes down a set of stairs. Fern follows him down, and she rolls a perception check to listen in on the conversation. She gets a 25. She hears Gaz's voice, and a voice she doesn't recognize, and a third voice she does, Rashina. Gaz tells them that the party are back, the ones who helped them last time. The others note that they might be helpful. Gaz tells them that the Bells want to move up their timetable to sooner, and the voices say that they'll see what they can do. Fern picks up a chemical smell at this moment, which is, I'm assuming, what they're making the bombs out of. The voice says it'll take an hour or two, but it should be able to be done. The voice says to keep them calm and nearby until she can go meet with them. Fern then decides to run back before Gaz leaves, and she steps into the room just before he does. Before we get back to them, the party, who are in the room waiting, check the trapdoors. Down there they see some bunks to hide people in, and there's also tools and blankets and some glass blades, some of them broken, some of them not. Veth takes some of the glass to make bolt heads out of later. Gaz walks in and says that they're figuring it out. It'll be an hour before Rashina is here. Breas tries to explain that they want to coordinate an attack with their allies back on Exandria, but as he's explaining that, they quickly lose Gaz to one of Jester's cookies because he's a simple mind now. Dorian asks why they're attacking the pillar, and Gaz says that those in the Volition have been working for generations to try to defeat the Weave Mind. They've gotten close to taking one or two out in the past, and with people leaving, there's a lot less casualties, so they can go a bit bigger than they could before. Jester says if they use their explosives, they should be able to do some serious damage. Gaz says that he likes Jester and asks for more cookies. Ashton then gives Gaz some booze. He's never had it before, and it made the cookie more tingly. Imogen asks if Rashina is coming to meet them, and Gaz says that she'll be coming here within an hour or two. Imogen thinks that the Hells should get moving. They have to reach the Hallowed Cage. Orym thinks Rashina can give them some good intel. Breas trusts the Nine can share that intel with them and that they should get moving. They need to better coordinate their timing with their allies at home. Imogen thinks that they can do that better if they have the plan with the Volition in mind. They can tell Vox Machina when they're ready to go. Imogen feels the Nine are close to their mission, so they don't really have to worry about their timing too much. Orym really wants to talk to Rashina before they go. Jester says that they can trust her to tell them the plan, and Matt reminds them that the assault on Exandria is what's going to be starting the whole plan. So Imogen says that she needs to call them right now. The party are going to rest at the Fork Tower as well, so Imogen has the moment to message Allura. Alright, we're in the city. Volition here can set off some explosives that can set it off, and they can set it off in the next couple of days, up to you. Allura says the forces are all at the ready. Time is of the essence now. The time to begin the assault. Jester then sends her a message saying, yeah, you should go in 30 minutes. Though, so we can recover and stuff, but it's happening. Fucking Jester's messages are so much more chaotic. It's hilarious. I love how Laura can just flip-flop between the two of them. Allura says, right, of course, thank you, Jester. I'll gather the Exandrian fleet. We then jump back in time a little bit in Vasselheim, and we start with Keyleth, Vex, Pike, and Grog, as they start their search for the rest of their troop before the assault. We start with Keyleth. The table is very empty. The time is late after all of her meetings with the Exandrian leaders. She then heads out to find Vex. She knows where she's going to be in a room near the Platinum Sanctuary. She knocks on the door and asks if she's up, and Vex says that she is, and Keyleth goes inside. Keyleth looks at Vex and says that it's all been a lot so far, but they do need to get the band back together. Vex says that it's been a while. Keyleth agrees, but she got the itch lately. Vex agrees with that notion. Vex says they're going to get him back. Keyleth asks if she believes that, and Vex does. She refuses to believe that he's stuck there forever. They're referring to Vax being stuck as a marble. Keyleth gets emotional. She says that it's not about wanting him back, but him not being there, not being captured. She's accepted him not coming back for 30 plus years now. It feels like a twisting dagger in her ribs. Vex asks if she really saw him and asks what he looks like. Keyleth says that he looks the same as he did the day he left, but a little bit more matron-y. Keyleth doesn't want to have hope. It's too painful, and Vex says that they can never truly lose their hope. They need to get the others. This fight might be the biggest they've ever seen. Keyleth says she's been trying to keep a straight face, but it's good not to hide her emotions anymore. Vex says that she saw Grog going into a bar, so Pike should be there too, and Percy will jump at the chance, even though he's a little grumpy. Keyleth says that she hasn't heard from Scanlan. She's been reaching out to him to no answer. She assumes that's on purpose. They then head out to the bar. As they go, Vex asks if she thinks the Bell Cells can actually do this. Keyleth says that they once had very little faith in them as well. She's trying not to be a hypocrite. They then make their way to the Cluttered Cloister, a tavern that allows members of the clergy to drink non-alcoholic drinks, as well as have other alcoholic drinks to be served. Inside, Pike and Grog are singing and drinking. They laugh about priests not being able to drink even though they want to. Pike and Grog try to sneak drinks to them. Pike tries to pour some of her drink into a priest drink, and a stealth check of 14. Her hand is grabbed by one of the priests, and he says that he can see what she's doing. Pike thought that he would want some, and she apologizes for trying. He says that he's not allowed to drink, and they start messing with him, and he walks away. Vex asks if they're drunk already, and Grog offers her some drink, and she takes it. Vex says that they have to get the band back together, and Pike says, "God damn it." This draws a lot of attention from most of the clergy members here, but it slowly turns away from them as they are all recognized as Vox Machina. Pike calls Keyleth crazy for thinking that they can get everyone. Keyleth asks if her and Scanlan are on good terms. She says no, they're on their third divorce. Pike says that they don't need him. The others say they do. Vex says that he doesn't even know about Vax quite yet because they haven't been able to get into contact with him. Keyleth thinks that he might not even know about the moon stuff going on. Keyleth thinks that Grog can actually get Scanlan to come back because they're very close. Pike says that they're all older now and they don't know what will happen. Grog says to let him talk to Scanlan, that he will get him to come back around. Keyleth says that they know Percy is on board, and maybe when Scanlan sees that, he'll come back. The bartender gives them all drinks for free. It seems that the owner of the bar is a fan. Pike wonders if Scanlan still has his earring on just in case. She always keeps hers on in case any of them call her. Grog lost his ages ago. It might be in the bag of holding. Keyleth asks when he last cleaned it out, and Grog questions the last time. He's never cleaned that thing out. Grog doubts if Percy will come back. He's kind of a bitch. Vex says that he has gotten a little bitchy in his older age. Keyleth says that the last time that she saw him, he was rather bossy with her when she was in Whitestone. Grog asks if they know where Scanlan is, and they don't. Keyleth tries to scry on him, but it doesn't work. Keyleth asks if they did anything to piss him off. Pike says that he's just being Scanlan. Keyleth asks if Pike still has feelings for him. Pike says that she doesn't know, but she doesn't want to see him right now. She doesn't feel good about the way she looks at the moment. She doesn't want to include him in all of this. They all talk about how time has changed them a little bit. They've all gotten a little older. Even Keyleth, the long-living one, has gray hairs appearing. Vex asks if there's anyone else that they can get to help them out. Maybe Terry. Keyleth says that she forgot all about him. Fucking wild. And asks what he's been doing. Keyleth says that he's with the Darrington Brigade still. He's trying to make that work. And he's married now. They were all at the wedding. They just seem to have forgotten that part. They decide not to get Terry. Shame. It's a big shame for me. Keyleth suggests Serkonos joining them. The rest agree that that could work, and they go to the birth heart to find him. They see the fire Ashari tents. Keyleth tells the guard that they'd like to speak with Serkonos, and the guard brings them to his tent. He lets them in. Robbie then joins the table. As they walk in, they see that the tent is very sparse, with everything having a purpose within the tent. The bed is on the floor, tools and weapons laid out in a moon crescent look on the ground. Sitting on the floor is Serkonos reading his book. He looks young, but there are some parts of him where it looks like his age peeks through on his body. Keyleth bows a bit to him, and he asks if they need anything. Keyleth says they're going into battle and they need help. Vex cuts in and asks if he would join them on the front lines. He says it would be his pleasure. Grog thinks it's badass that he answered so quickly. Serkonos stands and his joints all pop, but not in a brittle way, as if they're snapping into place, and he's getting ready for combat. He's near the end of his book and the party asks if he wants to finish it, and he says no, he'll save it for later when they come back. Badass. Pike and Grog are losing it. They think that it would be so boring to read that book because there's no pictures in it, and to not finish it drives Pike crazy. Keyleth says that the other Ashari leaders would be upset knowing that two of them are going into battle like this. Serkonos says that they may not have many other battles. He hears this is the last one. They are needed. They leave his tent and head to the Birthheart tree, a massive tree that represents the Wild Mother in Vasselheim. Keyleth opens a portal and they leap through it to the morning dawn of Whitestone. They're in the central part of the city where the sun tree sits. Keyleth says good morning to it and it says, "Good to see you, Kiki." They see people are going about their morning chores and the city is now waking up. People stop in their tracks seeing Vox Machina and Serkonos. They make their way up the hill towards the castle of Whitestone. The Pale Guard begin to gather around them and escort them the rest of the way up. As they reach the gate, they see a half-elven woman getting ready to go out. It's one of the Derolo kids, Vesper, the eldest daughter of the group. I think she's actually just the eldest kid in general. Vex asks where Percy is, and Vesper says that he's likely in his office with coffee, and asks if this is a friendly meeting. Vex says of course. Vesper starts flirting with Serkonos a little bit, and Vex tells Vesper that they're going to be involved a little bit more than expected, and tells her to take care of the others. The party then head inside and smell the morning scent of coffee. Vex yells for Percy, and they hear footsteps running towards them. They can see Gwen, the tiefling daughter of the Derolos, is on the stairs as, she's looking down at them. She says hi, and then runs off, because she doesn't really want to talk to anybody. They then head up to Percy's office. The door is open, and Vex sits inside and tells and then joins the table. She sees Percy at his desk. He's not dressed yet. He's in his night shirt, gown. I don't know what you'd call it. And his hair is all wild. I want to see this art so badly of him being wild-haired. She tells him that Vox Machina is here, and his stress levels go way up as they enter. He says it's good to see them all. They tell him that they're going to be fighting, and he says that it would take the end of the world to bring them all back together. He asks where the asshole is, or the little asshole is, and the party don't know. Serkonos says that Scanlan is his favorite, and is now smiling, and is a little worried that they don't know where Scanlan is. Percy then makes an investigation check, as he feels like he would be tracking most of them, and wants to see what he knows in his papers. He rolls a 29, and he remembers, or sees that in his notes, that he heard that he joined up with Dr. Dranzel's troop again, and went east to Wildmount before disappearing from his network. He informs the others of this, and Vex suggests scrying on Kaylee. She casts a spell, and she floats through the air, much like normally when they cast a spell, and it zooms back in on a gnome woman sleeping. Perception check to see if she can tell where she is. And on a 25 roll, it looks like she's inside a bedchamber that is not fit for a gnome. So it's not a personal living space. She's probably in an inn somewhere. Keyleth says that they could try where they last saw him, or at least where Percy's people last saw him. Percy asks if they have anyone who can just find him for them, and Grog suggests Allura, but she's back in Vasselheim. The party asks Pike to use the sending spell to talk to him. She asks what she would even say. They suggest telling him that they need him to help save Exandria. Grog suggests giving him a prize of some sort, and Vex tells him to just say that she wants to sleep with him again. Serkonos thinks that'll work really well. Pike is worried that he'd say no. Vex says that no one would say no to her. She then looks to Serkonos and asks if he would say yes to her, and he just bluntly says no. This doesn't help Pike's confidence at all, but she casts a spell. Hello, it's Pike. I had some booze and I'm horny. It's been a while. I really want to see you. I'm in Whitestone. Where are you? Sam then joins the table. I cannot believe I just said the words I said. I've said a lot of things in these recaps, but that blows my mind that I just said that. He answers, hard to hear you out here. I thought you said something about being horny. I'm in Wildmount. Hope you're okay. Come visit or whatever. She tells the others what he said, and Pike says that it sounds like he was either running or fucking. She's not too sure what. He didn't sound bothered by anything, though. Grog tells her to send the spell again, and asks where in Wildmount exactly he is. Pike does so. Well, where are you in Wildmount, specifically? I would like to know, were you working out? How's it going? Talk to you later. Percy says that she's too good for Scanlan. Scanlan then answers, whoa. Where are we, boys? Where are we? We're halfway between, shit. Azarus and Bazozan. I probably fucked up one of those words. I don't know, there's not a lot of markers. I could describe it. Is this a booty call? She tells the others where he said he was, and that he seems to be with other people. Pike asks if she should just leave it now. Grog says that they're literally trying to find him. Pike asks if she should try again, but this time Keyleth casts Scry again, this time on Dr. Dranzel, and it works. She sees a starry sky with a barely lit lit valley of broken rock and spires, a dark mountain range, and leafless trees, a bunch of horses slowing down. There's a big enough tree that they can travel through. Percy says that he needs to write a note and hopes that Gwen heard everything. Gwen appears and says that she did. This child is creepy, and I love her. She sounds awesome. He tells her to let Cassandra know where they're going and to let Vesper know that she's in charge. And if something goes wrong, that she's in charge, but to not let the others know about that. He then hands her a note and says that she knows where the emergency kit is if something goes wrong. Vex asks if she's seen Vax. Gwen says that he's on holiday, but she can get him. Percy says to get all of their kids and to head to the Sun Tree. Percy then turns to his wall and pulls the mask. It opens up to a safe. There's just a piece of paper. He moves it and there's a key. He takes it and takes the mask off the wall and then runs off. Pike asks what's on the paper, but he says nothing about it. He then runs to his lab and opens a box. Grog tries to open the safe to see what the paper said, but Percy tries to warn him. Grog needs to make a wisdom saving throw and naturally rolls a nat 1. Grog then starts running around yelling that he's trying to rob Derolo. Gwen grabs onto him and starts to ride around him as he does so. Percy then puts his stuff on. Apparently it's stuff that we haven't seen before in neither of the party. Serkonos says that they are rather chaotic without their leader Scanlan. Vex asks why Percy was so bitchy to Keyleth last time. He says that it's because the Bell's Hells, and it was a bit too much for him. They know what makes him on edge, and why he won't apologize for why he was on edge. He does, however, apologize to Keyleth for being a bit of a bitch. Keyleth wants to go before they lose him. He seems to be losing control. He tells her to get moving. Time is running out. They then head back to the Sun Tree with a full Pale Guard escort down to it, which draws a lot of attention. People are watching. Keyleth elects to druid craft flowers and greenery to make it look a bit more ceremonial than, what it looks like. Vesper and Gwen run up. Behind them are two twins in their teens. One is Wolf and one is Leona. And already waiting by the tree is a young teen, Vaxel Dan II. Now all of their children are here at the tree. Vex says that they might be gone for a while, and Vesper needs to take care of them all. Vax says that he'll listen, he guesses, if she's nice. Vex kisses him and hugs him. Wolf asks what's going on. He seems to be able to tell better than the others that something is happening. Vex says that they're going to try to fix what's going on with their uncle. This gets the attention of all of their children. Percy says that it's dangerous, but they're strong, and the land is theirs for now, and they expect them to be on their best behavior. Vex whispers to Leona and says to not let Gwen follow them through the portal, which is something that I can totally imagine her doing. The kids' attitudes all drop at this moment, even Vax's. The portal opens up into the Sun Tree, and the kids' faces drop into tears as their stoic faces leave them as the party starts to walk through. Percy turns and says that they will return to Whitestone soon, and that Whitestone endures. The crowd yells it back to him, and the party step through to the starry night sky. They are now in the hollowed path to Bazzoxan, not Bassaris. My autocorrect pisses me off. They are in the hollowed path to Bazzoxan in Xhorhas of Wildemount. They see the Dark Mountain range to the east and the south. They see the calamity-scarred landscape, and they hear hooves hitting the ground, getting quieter as they ride off. Pike tries to talk to Scanlan through the earring, telling him to slow down. He tells the Silver Saddles to stop, and he turns as he is wearing the earring. Keyleth makes a gust of wind behind them to look cool. Scanlan then rides up to them. The most jarring part about all of this is he's not just a regular gnome anymore. He is now a centaur. So is Dr. Dranzel. So is Lionel Gayard, who's with him. I thought he was with the Darrington Brigade. Kind of weird. And there are other members there as well. There's a person named Kent Plucker, who I don't recall. There's Jameson the Painter, and a female dwarf that none of the party know. Grog asks what happened to his body, and Scanlan says that he true polymorphed them all as this is the best way to travel for their road trip. Sam watched the movie Wild Hogs recently, and that's what's going on with Scanlan. Midlife crisis sort of thing, you know. They've been planning this for weeks. They've been all over Wildemount, and that's where they met Keg along the way. Keg, finally back. That's awesome. Keg says that they've been having a good time. Serkonos says that he's happy to see Scanlan at last, and laughs and says that he has a horse penis now. This makes Lionel Gayheart lose his mind. Laughing. Vex asks if they can talk. Scanlan says that they have to make it to Bazzoxan soon. Percy says that they have some serious business. Scanlan tells the Saddles, the Silver Saddles, to wait for a bit and to not smoke all the spice without him. Again, referring to spice as drugs. I don't know why. We've been over this. That's not drugs, according to some people in the comments and the wiki. Vex looks at him and says, really? And he says that this is his third midlife crisis. It's fine to have a little bit of spice along the way. Keyleth wonders if this is a good idea, but notes that they always do help him when he gets like this. Percy says that the world is fucked and they are getting the band back together. Sorry if I'm using that a lot. I just think it's fun to say. The party explain what's going on and to Scanlan that the world is ending and they're going to try to help Vax, who is trapped in an orb. Scanlan asks if he's still alive, and the party say that his soul is, and he is screaming. The Bellcells told them themselves. They tell him Keyleth almost died and it's really hard to kill her. Only she's been able to do it when she jumps off a cliff. Scanlan says that he'll come if it's important, but they've planned this trip for months. Pike says that he should just go with them then. Scanlan says after they broke up, he wanted to find himself again. He wants to inspire her again, and he thought if he did this trip, he'd be able to find purpose. But helping Vax is purpose as well. He's going to have to break it to the boys. Scanlan asks one more time if Pike really wants him to come. She says that he does want him to come, and he asks if she needs him. Keyleth interrupts and says that it's unfair to put that all on Pike. Scanlan asks if they all want him to come or just his magic. Grog says that they all want him to come. Percy says that it's just his magic, and Pike says that it's just his magic as well, and Scanlan says, good enough for me, and they all hug, and this is where the session ends. So there you have it, episode 112 of Campaign 3 of Critical Role, or episode 146 of Campaign 2, or episode 116 of Campaign 1. I think I got those numbers right, because this is the first episode where all of the players have played almost all of their characters. The only one who didn't play all of their characters today was Liam, which is fucking wild to me. And this was an experience. This is the first time I've ever seen, and I'm going to use the word live in quotes here. This is the first time I've ever seen Vox Machina live. I've never seen Vox Machina live before. So for me, this is really cool. It's a unique experience. I joined late. Obviously, I watched campaign 2 when it was starting, or not starting up, when it was like part of the way through. So for me, I've never seen Vox Machina live. So for me, this is really, really cool. Unless you count the Vox Machina versus Mighty Nine one shot, or where they fought each other, but that's literally the only thing. So for me, this is really cool to have seen them play as the Bell Cells, the Mighty Nine, and now for the most part, most of Vox Machina. I very much enjoyed this. I thought it was a lot of fun. It wasn't too hard to keep track of, which is kind of interesting. I thought I was going to lose myself in trying to remember who all of them were, and the fact that they all had to play 3 characters again. Matt, again, just luckily had to, sit by and describe a handful of things. This overall was a really fun episode, and it feels like they got a good amount done. It makes up for not doing too much in the last episode, because they made their way through the city of Kavirus. They're now in position, ready to start like the assault. They also grabbed Plane Rider Rin, which is a thing that's been, looming over the players since the earlier parts of the campaign. Like, she's been a statue since like episode 30 or something. So for a very long time, she's been trapped. So it's really cool that they grabbed her in this moment with a character whose story arc ended basically when he unpetrified most of his family. So I think it's really cool that Caduceus got to do it again. He unpetrified somebody, which I think is really cool. Overall, I very much enjoyed this episode. I don't know if I like it as much as the last one, because I just love the last one with all the interactions. If only Vox Machina had to interact with the other group, then it would have been probably number 1 as my favorite episode so far. But these 2 episodes are like number 1 and number 2 of this campaign. They're awesome. I love that they're playing all these characters. Campaign 3, I wish I could go back to the early parts of the campaign where people were upset or worried that all the references to previous campaigns would just be that, references, and they wouldn't mean anything. Because now, for all of us who made it this far and decided not to drop campaign 3, we're eating. We're enjoying the fact that we now have all of these references being paid off, and the fact that they're playing all of their fucking characters. This is such a sick thing. It's so cool to be able to experience this. And I'm glad that, I'm glad I stuck it through. There's a couple of times where I was like, do I want to stop? Do I want to not? But I'm glad I stuck it through, because this has been awesome. I've very much been enjoying the fact that I've been watching it weekly. I'm enjoying the fact that these references have paid off, and now we're seeing all of these characters. It's super cool. I'm curious to see who Liam is playing, and what was interesting to me is I didn't think Robbie was going to join the Vox Machina portion, but it makes sense. He voices Serkonos in the animated series, so that is his character. So frankly, this is perfect. Now, it seems like he isn't going to be joining the Mighty Nine unless the Mighty Nine get a Volition member that he can play, but who knows? Who knows? But anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up there. I will see you guys on Tuesday for whatever video I make next. Peace.